MJ with his third background in 3 meetings. I like it.
How do you do that?
Next to the start video button, there's an option that says choose virtual background. But unless you got a green screen or a green wall or a white wall or a blue wall, it probably ain't gonna work. But try it.
I only take direction from Andrea.
No.
I'll find it. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it, brother.
Congratulations,
Mo.
Mo.
First Michigan State, and now this.
Woohoo! Go green.
Happy Daddy.
Thank you.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mo.
Thanks, guys. Good
We'll
evening.
be getting a lot of sleep anytime soon.
It's been a rough night last night.
It gets better.
No, I've heard. Yeah, she's
In 18 years.
Just as a reminder, we are live right now. So as a reminder.
My bad.
Mo, you are now a co-host, so you'll be able to set yourself up for the screen share. And we are now broadcasting to the attendees along with being live on YouTube. Council President, it's all yours whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Watching the clock. Stand by. All right, we'll call this meeting of the Westland City Council to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Today will be led by Councilwoman Andrea Rakowski. So you can find either due north to go ahead and pledge allegiance, or to face, or if you got a flag somewhere in your area, you can do that as well. So Andrea, it's on you.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Present.
Councilwoman Green. I see her. Councilman Hersberg.
Here.
Councilman Londo.
Here.
Councilman McDermott.
Here.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Here.
President Hart.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. For special presentations and announcements today, we're going to ask Fire Chief Stradner to please give us an update on COVID-19.
Thank you, Council President, and good evening, Council, and everybody listening from home. I hope I'm unmuted and everybody can hear me. I know that the mayor's been communicating with Council and his residents through social media and various other outlets of all the people that have died as a result of COVID-19 within Westland. We just learned that there's more of those to report this evening, which is very sad news as always. Our crews in both the police department and the fire department are staying the same each day for patients not being transferred to hospitals. One of the things that we have to realize is that this virus has left an impact on all of us, and especially us in Westland, seeing our residents die, and we need to keep these individuals in our thoughts and prayers as we move on. It's a problem that keeps growing every day and will continue to do so. This week in the fire department, we had 4 members test positive for the virus. They're at home isolating away from their families. We have several more awaiting test results who are off duty sick. Seeing what that will bring for us in the future as we move forward. We'll have to change some operations maybe as we move along. On a daily basis, we clean our stations, we disinfect them thoroughly. Our crews do our best to distance each other, but unfortunately the nature of our job doesn't always allow for the proper social distancing that needs to happen. The fire department conducts 2 health screenings a day, one in the morning before they even are allowed into the quarters of the station, and then one in the afternoon. A lot of these members were getting sick during the night and they're waking up with a fever or, going on runs in the middle of the night. So we're doing our best to keep them safe and keep the public safe through constant health screenings. One issue we have experienced, which has been interesting and new to us, is members who have ended up testing positive who are asymptomatic. And then within a couple of days, they develop symptoms. And that's the scary side of this virus, is we have people who were walking around symptom-free who may be spreading the virus, which only highlights the importance to keep social distancing and keep doing the mitigation efforts that we're doing in the city. We're going to remain diligent. We're going to keep our firefighters healthy so they can continue to serve the public. Some of our smaller cities that surround us have lost up to 30% of their personnel who can't work currently because of isolation from COVID. This certainly tasks the city of Westland and other surrounding communities through mutual aid agreements. We continue to change our operational staffing matrix to meet the needs of the community. Certainly our call volume up as a result of COVID-19. We're seeing a lot more transports to the hospital. We're seeing an increase of patients dying at home that we don't end up transporting. It's obviously a very trying time for the whole city. During these busy times, one of the things that we saw happen was some hospitals reallocate their resources. The Beaumont Wayne closed their ER. So as we're seeing an increase in calls and we're seeing a closure of a local emergency room, it certainly had an impact on our response capabilities. We'll make our adjustments just as we'll do whether this issue with Beaumont is long-term or short-term. It has definitely had an impact on our response capabilities. But one thing that we're fortunate for is other hospitals in our area have put in place surge plans and extended their capacity to help compensate for not only COVID patients, but also for whatever's happening down at our Beaumont facility. And we'll see, time will tell what will happen with that, because we really don't know what's going on with them. Both the police department and the fire departments have numerous offers for donations. We accept what we can. I can tell you that these generous donations have had a huge positive impact on employee morale, and it's good for the department. We certainly can't accept everything, but we can take what we get. Talking about personal protective equipment, Westland was very proactive from the beginning. There was a lot of concern of what was going to happen, and the Michigan Department of Public Health and the CDC was constantly changing guidelines for what we would need. We ordered early, and we ordered a lot early because we knew the demand was going to be high, and essentially you're fighting with your surrounding cities to try to meet that demand. We've been successful in making sure we have a plentiful stock of personal protective equipment for both our police and fire departments. And we've distributed some of that equipment to Aiken Transit, the Jefferson Barnes, and the City Hall to make sure that our employees are staying safe. When this first started, we started a citywide disinfecting protocol that was laid out, and we had a suggested cleaning schedule. At the onset of the crisis, there's been several city buildings that we've had professionally cleaned. One of the things that we have to make sure is that the essential employees that are coming to work, that we're making sure that they're coming to a safe environment every day. So if we do have a COVID suspect or a COVID positive, we're making sure those facilities are being cleaned professionally with a thorough deep cleaning. I do know that when I was driving around the city recently, I've seen that one of our senior centers also utilized a professional company to deep clean and sanitize their entire building, which is nice to see that they're working diligently to keep our most vulnerable population safe. In closing, really, Westland's been tracking all our COVID-19 expenses. What we'll do is we'll work through the state and through the county to get reimbursement through FEMA for all these expenses. There's still not an exact procedure in place. We're waiting on the federal government to come up with that procedure, but we've at least gone and created an access portal through FEMA. So we have grant ability to go in there and start submitting some costs so we can start seeing some reimbursements. And I'll certainly keep council and the mayor updated on what kind of reimbursements we might put in for and what we might see, because obviously this COVID-19 response has been very, has had a financial impact on the city without a doubt. And then just to leave you on a positive note, we see our fire trucks driving through the neighborhoods. We try to keep the siren down, but blowing their lights, as these are very trying times for families. And we've seen other cities do it, and certainly that extended to Westland, where we get requests for birthday parties or other special events. If we can drive by and put a smile on someone's face. We've done young kids. We did a 100-year-old woman the other day, thanks to Councilman Landau. We, it's a hard time. We'll make all the ones that we can. If we can't get there, we can't get there. We certainly can't take away from our response capability, but to bring a smile to someone's face during these very difficult times is the least we could do. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We'll move on to citizens' comments or input on the agenda. Citizens will have up to 3 minutes to ask any questions that are particular to the agenda today. *9 raises your hand if you're dialed in by phone. If you're using the Zoom app, you can just hit the raise hand button. And then *6, again, if you're using your phone, you'll have to hit *6 to unmute your phone. So at this time, are there any questions from the public? Second time, are there any questions from the public? Third time, any questions from the public? Seeing none, we'll close questions from the public and move on to the consent calendar. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Godbout.
Support.
Support by Councilman McDermott. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Roll call.
I have discussion.
All right, now I see your raised hand, Councilwoman. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question on several of the items in terms of the expense. I noticed that the request form, the one-page request form, the line items have been removed from those, telling City Council if the item is a budgeted expense and how much money was placed in the budget. That was removed from the form. So basically the form is basically just asking us to approve all of these expenditures, and we don't know if this is in the budget or not. So I have a question on C through G, starting with C. Is this a budgeted expense? And what is I read the description in terms of the aerial map. What are we going to be using this for specifically? For photos of aerial mapping photos?
Steve?
Council President, that'll be Craig Brown can answer that for you.
Well,
item C.
It's item C. All right, so Craig.
Through the chair, the near map aerial imagery software is to be used by multiple departments. I do have funds in my current operating budget that can be used for paying for this, but the cost can also be allocated across the different departments that are using it. This is not going to be one single department that will be using it. What it is basically, it's a company that does a flyover of the entire city 3 times a year and takes photographs of all the property that's in Westland. Then it takes these live maps and provides it in a format that GIS software and applications can utilize. So it provides us an opportunity to have very up-to-date maps of the city 3 times a year, going all the way back to 2014. These maps can then be used to develop forecasts of different functions, like, for example, road condition, deterioration of condition over time, instead of us having to send out crews every week or month to review all the roads. We can use these maps to help denote areas that have trended into deteriorating conditions, so we can forecast out where our costs are going to go for that. That would be like pothole designs. We can use it for aerial mapping of our fire hydrants to confirm where our fire hydrants are. We can use it for looking at the condition of buildings, whether or not they are violating our ordinances or not. The building department can use them for monitoring projects, larger projects that are being used for building. neighborhood services can use it for blight checking and things along those lines. So it's actually a very functional system. When I saw it, I couldn't think of a single department that couldn't utilize it.
Okay, thank you. And this is a $15,000 per year expense to be able to use it 3 times a year? And if so, is this a contract?
Through the chair, this is a subscription service. It is a 1-year contract for $15,000. And then if we decide to renew it the following year, it'd be another $15,000 and so on and so forth.
Thank you. My same question applies for item number, or item D for the $1,057,834. Was this, I know this is for a water main break on Brandon Street. Where are we going to take the $1 million to do this repair? And what area of the budget will it be coming from? And then will that place us into a deficit in that particular category?
Ramsey?
Yes, through the chair, this is a budgeted item in the 2019-2020 fiscal year that was approved by City Council last year. And this is for a water main replacement job, not just water main breaks. This is in the area of a Brandon Street between Glenwood and Palmer. This is one of the oldest water mains in the city, and that project will replace that water main. And at the same time, this is a budgeted amount, Councilwoman Green, in the water and sewer budget. And as a matter of fact, I budgeted over $2 million, and that contract came about $1 million. So there is some savings there. So that will be added to the fund balance.
Okay, thank you. Same applies for line item E, $8,900 for golf course netting. Is that in the budget? And yeah, is that a budgeted expense?
Vic?
Through the chair to Councilwoman Green, you might recall we had a session where I had gone through various items that needed to be addressed citywide with the council, and finance had found some monies that would support those projects. This is one of those, ma'am.
No, well, we discussed were supposed to be emergency items. You mentioned roof repair and some other items that were allegedly 911s. I remember that study session because I asked why had those items not been included in the budget before the budget was approved, because the request for those items came within months of us starting the next fiscal budget. And I asked why had there not been any capital assessments done so that we could have budgeted for those items. So a net was not discussed at that study session, because I absolutely would have mentioned the fact that an unbudgeted net is not an emergency. So this expense is not budgeted for, or we did not allocate funds for this item, is what you're saying?
Well, I stand corrected, Councilwoman.
Steve Smith's trying to answer that. Can you give him a second, Vic?
Sure.
So, sorry, through the chair. Yeah, this item is actually not a budgeted item. In the packet that we had given, this will be part of the third quarter budget amendment. But like Vic had said, there was additional monies left over from what he did. So those will be asked for in the third quarter budget amendment for the netting. So.
Okay, that what you just said is actually not what Vic said. Vic said he presented it during when he asked for the hundreds of thousands of dollars for the capital improvements that were not budgeted for. So we didn't discuss anything that was left over, because at that particular point, council had not approved his request.
So through the chair, so when the third quarter budget amendment will be brought to council in May, this will be one of the items that we ask for the amendment for, is to fund the netting for the golf course. So, and the revenue source for that funding will come from what Vic had mentioned. That original, it was around $100,000 of expenditures. So the revenue source is the the remaining amount of money left over from savings and the expense side will be the golf netting itself. So.
Okay, I can appreciate that, but there were no savings. The money that Vic asked for was not budgeted. So this is unbudgeted money. And since you're stating that you're going to present council with a packet for approval in May, which is approximately 2 weeks away, we're currently under a statewide quarantine mandate. Nobody can come to our golf course and enjoy it anyway. I don't see why we would authorize $8,900 of further non-emergency expenditures that the public can't enjoy anyway. So I would make a motion to remove item E from the consent calendar until such time that council is presented with whatever request that you just referenced, Steve. Thank you.
That motion's not going to work. You need to move, if you want to deliberate that, you got to move it off the consent calendar, move it to new business.
Okay, well, I make a motion to move item E to new business.
There's a motion to move item E off of the consent calendar, new business. Is there any support? Is there any support? Motion dies for lack of support.
Okay, same question, item F, $7,387 for True Green. Is this budgeted in our current budget? And I apologize for asking these questions. I don't know why whatever department of the city decided to take this information away from city council. We should not be presented with packets with no information as to whether this is budgeted or not and how much money is in the budget. And this was deliberately removed from our packets because it has been that those line items have been there. And I would ask at the next meeting that they are re-added. I think it is deceptive, but it's actually a waste of time because now I have to ask you questions that we had in the past. So same applies for item F, $7,387. Is that a budgeted item for this year's budget, or is this a added expense that is being as a special request?
Mr. Adams?
Through the chair, yes, that is a budgeted item. It'll go through various departments, as it says in the memo. The Parks Rec Department, Senior Resource Department, Joanne's budget, the Historical Department, and DPS. So yes, that $7,000 plus is scattered out through all those departments, and it is within this year's budget.
Same thing applies for item G, the $10,418.
Through the chair.
All right, so Craig, do you want to go ahead and answer to that?
Yes, sir. Through the chair. This particular item is our yearly subscription to our ExecuTime software application. So it goes in front of council every year. It's basically just a renewal of our subscription to the software that manages the time clocks and the inputting of hours for the entire city staff. And it's utilized by the payroll and human resources department. And it is budgeted within our current budget.
Thank you. And can I ask who made the decision to remove those line items from our packet?
Steve?
Yes, through the chair, the council member Green. So I will check into that and see what happened. I am not sure why those were removed, but we will double check on our end to ensure that council has the information that they need going forward.
Thank you. That's it for me. Thanks.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green.
No, due to item E.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes. Council has approved the following consent calendar items. Approval of minutes of the special meeting held April 13, 2020. Traffic Control Order 2020-01, install one stop sign at the corner of Mackenzie and Cardwell to require vehicles traveling on Mackenzie to stop at Cardwell. Approval of bid for aerial imagery services for the Department of Innovation and Technology. Administration had recommended the low bidder, Nearmap USA Incorporated, in an amount not to exceed $15,000. Approval of bid for South Brandon Street water main pipe bursting and pavement rehabilitation services. Administration recommended the low bidder, Bidiger Contractors, amount not to exceed $1,057,834. Approval of bid for golf course netting. Administration recommended the low bidder, West Coast Netting, amount not to exceed $8,900. Approval of bid for lawn fertilization and weed control services. Administration recommended the low bidder, True Green, amount not to exceed $7,387. Approval of workforce management subscription with Tyler Technologies Incorporated for the Department of Innovation and Technology and Human Resources / payroll. The subscription term shall be for a 1-year period with the amount not to exceed $10,418.48. Approval of agreement by and between the City of Westland and Land Contracts Unlimited Incorporated for the provision of sanitary sewer services for the property located at 39050 Glenwood to be provided by the City of Wayne, but charged by the City of Westland. The mayor and city clerk are authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city. Approval of sanitary sewer services agreement between the City of Wayne and the City of Westland for the property located at 39050 Glenwood. Services are to be provided by the City of Wayne. The City of Westland shall charge for that service and remit to the City of Wayne. The mayor and city clerk are authorized to execute the agreement with the City of Wayne. Approval of Mdot contract number 20-5100 for the purpose of hot mix asphalt, cold mixing, resurfacing, concrete, pavement repair, signage, and all necessary related work on North Hicks Road. The grant amount for this project is $1,275,700, and the local share is $285,600. The mayor and city clerk are authorized to execute the contract on behalf of the city. Approval of Justice Assistance Grant Agreement for the police department to replace and or repair current technology needs at the police station. The federal award for fiscal year 2020 is $121,165. Approval of 2020 Census Action Plan grant from the Michigan Municipal League. Total amount of the grant is $25,000. Adoption of Ordinance 167A8, an ordinance to amend Chapter 18 of the Westland City Code, Section 18-17, to provide for fees for the release of animals from impoundment. The last item approved on the consent calendar, adoption of Ordinance 29W243, an ordinance to amend Chapter 46 of the Westland City Code, Sections 461 through 462, to provide for fees for the boarding, pickup, and handling of animals. Moving to unfinished business, number 1. Request for proposed land division, 8332 Hugh Avenue, north of Ann Arbor Trail, west of Middlebelt on the east side of Hugh. Planning Commission recommends denial. This item was postponed March 16, 2020.
Before we take any motions for that, Mo, it's my understanding that the petitioner is withdrawing their request. Is that correct?
That's correct, Council President.
All right, so Mr. Clerk, we just show that as withdrawn from the petitioner.
Done. New business. Item number 2. Public hearing for Community Development Block Grant and Home Program Annual Action Plan for the fiscal period July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021. This public hearing date was set March 16, 2020.
I'll move.
Support.
Actually,
Yeah, we have to have a public comment real quick. So
President.
I apologize.
Yep.
Yes.
So at this time, this is a public hearing. So at this time, any residents may have up to 3 minutes to speak on this particular item. The protocol is the same as we've discussed before. *9 raises your hand if you're using your phone, or use the raise hand feature on the Zoom app. And *6 does mute your phone. At this time, do we have any questions or input on this public hearing? Second call, are there any questions or input on this public hearing?
Motion to close.
Final call, are there any questions on this public hearing? There are no calls. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing.
Support.
Who moved? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Councilman Herzberg.
Herzberg.
I got a motion by Councilman Herzberg, supported by Council President Pro Tem Landau. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Herzberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes. Public hearing is closed. New business, item 3, adoption of prepared resolution decertifying a portion of Yale Avenue for the 2020 Act 51 computations in order to decertify a 150-foot section of Yale Avenue located between 330 feet south of Beechwood and Wayne Road as not connecting to Wayne Road.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Herzberg. Who had support?
I can support it. Mike Londo.
Councilman Londo with support. Is there any discussion?
I have discussion.
Councilman Herzberg.
Thank you. Just a quick question on this. Just curious what the motivation for decertifying this part of the street is. Specifically, are there plans to sell the property or any developments, or is this just a correction to put it as a dead end as it is? Thank you.
Mr. Faso.
Through the chair, this was a request made by Mdot to DPS, brought forward by Mr. El-Kharib to me. We looked at it. Mdot has apparently had time to review their Act 51 maps and look for anomalies. This 150-foot anomaly was identified. This portion of Yale used to connect to Ford Road before widening at Wayne Road years ago. So at one time it was properly Act 51. Once there was some work done, it's now appropriate to decertify. So brought forward by Mdot, no motivation by the city or plans by the city.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Herzberg.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilman Londo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. New business item 4, approval of voucher.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Support by, motion by Council President Pro Tem Landau. I believe I heard support by Councilman Rakowski. Is that correct?
That's fine.
Correct.
All right. Is there any discussion?
Discussion.
Councilman Herzberg.
Thank you. On page 7 of the vouchers under golf course, there's an item, the last item is golf cart lease. I was under the impression that the city had owned a fleet of golf carts. So if you could just elaborate on this item, did we sell those? Are they obsolete now? Just looking for more information on that. Thank you.
Steve Smith. You're muted, Mr. Smith.
Through the chair, we do not own the golf carts. We lease them every year. So this would be the payment for the upcoming season. And then obviously if the, the ban from golfing goes on, then the payment will not be made until such a time the golf course is open. So.
Good news. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg,
Yes.
Councilman McDermott,
Yes.
Councilman Londo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski,
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We now move to comments on a request from the public following the approval of vouchers. Citizens will have up to 3 times to ask questions of the council. Citizens will use the same protocol we've been talking about already. You use *9 to raise your hand if you're dialed in, or if you're using the Zoom app, you can hit the raised hand feature. And then *6 will unmute your phone if you're dialed in. I have one, so last digits 017, I believe, on the phone. You're up.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Richard Graham with Move Westland Forward. Regarding the upcoming fiscal budget, and specifically the large increase that the library and sanitation department now has to pay the city's general fund, both are seeing an approximate 80% increase from the current budget. Interesting that in March, before the trash tax passed, the city was publishing to residents that the sanitation department would pay $150,000 to the general fund for the new budget. 1 month later is up to $267,000, a 79% increase. Mayor Weil could not get the bids for recycling out timely, but figured out how to take from the sanitation department, desperately trying to recover fiscally from years of neglect. The sanitation department was in a deficit, so the increase is coming right from the taxpayers' new millage. I thought the millage was for recycling. The library is currently paying $195,000 to the general fund, and now is going up to $350,000. Mayor Wild wanted it almost $500,000. This increase is putting the library into a deficit for this coming budget. Again, it's putting it into a deficit. They will now need to go out. Will they now need to go out and ask for another millage tax to pay for Wild's fiscally failing city budget? Sad Mayor Wild is raiding the library. Now, regarding the library, it is surprising to see that the clerk's office, via the city, of course, is charging the library around $11,000 for this new budget and possibly $14,000 next time. It is surprising to me, at least, that the clerk's office is doing that much work for the library. Are they really working around 1 day per week for the library? Help save the library from a deficit, which may cause layoffs of our librarians, reduction in services, or even a millage increase proposal. Everyone take care and stay safe. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Again, residents, you need to raise hand by typing *9 and then *6 will unmute your phone. Are there any other questions from the public? Final call. Any other questions from the public? We'll close citizens' comments and move on to comments from the administration. Mayor?
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing Fire Chief Stratner to start off tonight's meeting with an update on the emergency response for COVID-19 in the city. And Fire Chief, the Police Chief, both departments of public service, and all the city employees are just doing an incredible job in some very stressful times. And we appreciate their hard work and their dedication, and continue to update council daily. And at some point you may get sick of those updates. If so, let me know and I can kind of change that. Craig, welcome back, and the WLND team are putting together those daily briefings that's collected from a lot of different sources. And those are going out Monday through Friday daily at noon. Council, you get them a little bit earlier than the public. And as I'd mentioned at the last council meeting, the Department of Economic Development is now doing a business briefing that goes out on Tuesdays and Saturdays. The police or the fire chief did mention that we do get a daily update from the folks at Wayne County Executive's office. And tonight, just before the council meeting, we were alerted that there were 2 more West End residents that that lost their lives today due to this virus. So that brings the fatalities in Westland related to COVID-19 to 40, and about 500, the approximate number of positive tests so far in Westland are getting close to 500. So we'll keep you updated moving forward on that. There's been a lot of talk about potentially the governor's office relaxing some of the stay-at-home orders, and I'm sure that's going to be debated quite heavily over the next week or so. So we'll definitely keep you updated to the best of our ability. The next thing is council, as we talked about it, the budget overview was the purchasing department. Devin has done a good job of getting an RFP, a request for proposals, out to the recycling industry to give the city a bid on processing our recyclables. And we expect those numbers to be back within a 30-day period so that we can incorporate that into our budget sessions. Council, at our next city council meeting, the first meeting in May, obviously we're going to be doing the public meeting for the budget, and we'll have a chance to talk a little bit more about some of the items that are coming up between now and then. Council, I do expect to bring you a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Westland and the Police Officers Association, our POAM team. We've been negotiating. The team from the POAM has done an incredible job working with the city administration on this contract. So at this point, we're looking at potentially bringing you a collective bargaining agreement before the next council meeting. I believe the council president has already scheduled a study session prior to that council meeting so that we can walk you through the fine points of that contract. Council, we're also getting very close on the marijuana ordinance licensing. So I would expect that if that is not on the first meeting in May, that we should be bringing that forward on the second meeting in May. So at least that's our plans at this point. And then the last thing is I just want to remind the residents that Wednesday, April 22nd is Earth Day, and that's something that we've celebrated every year in Westland. This year is actually the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. So while we typically do an event, we typically partner with the schools. Unfortunately, this year, we're going to have to do a virtual event. And Craig, welcome back. And the events team has been working on putting together a virtual Earth Day interactive event for Wednesday, April 22nd. The way to participate with that is through the city's Facebook page. And if you start to watch that, you'll start to see it. And all day long on April 22nd, there's going to be a lot of Earth Day related tidbits and a lot of other things that they should be enjoyable for everybody, and also show our commitment to being good stewards of the environment. So with that, I hope everybody had a safe and happy Easter, and for our friends and neighbors and family that celebrated Passover. And also I wish the best for our friends and relatives and neighbors and business owners that will soon be celebrating Ramadan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Anything from the city attorney today?
I would just comment that once again, I think the city council is doing a great job with these virtual meetings. I have opportunity to see a lot of other communities trying to work through this stay home, stay safe period. And I believe the city of Westland is doing better than most. I think the mayor was quoted as saying that the city's hit a rhythm, and I can certainly see it from where my involvement is. The city employees are working on behalf of the residents on a daily basis, churning out necessary work. And I think you're doing a better job than many of the communities that I see. The courts are on a very limited basis, the 18th District Court. We're in there each week doing some of it by Zoom. But I think we're all looking forward to when being good at virtual meetings is a thing of the past. So again, great job to the innovation group here with Craig Brown's leadership and what this council's doing. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to comments from City Council. We'll begin tonight with Councilman Hertzberg.
Thank you, Council President. I also have to agree with Attorney Faustone again. I was a little bit weary about doing our meetings through Zoom at the beginning, especially after watching how they were done in other cities and other states. And here in Westland, we really topped it off. I think everybody's remained professional, and we have a really good presentation. Just a couple comments tonight. Item J on our agenda was the repaving of North Hicks Road. I believe that's between Ford and Warren, maybe with some minor updates outside of that area. It's a $1.5 million project. It's mostly grant funded. The city's only paying $285,000 of about $1.5 million. And that road's gotten beaten up over the years. So a lot of people are gonna be really happy to see that repaved this year. I received a lot of phone calls the past 2 weeks or so from residents where you might have had a water main break over the winter and you were waiting for the city to come and fix up the public way and the grass. I know that they're out now. I've seen them today in the last couple of days, and they're out. They're coming down the list. If you want to call me and make sure that they're coming to visit your area, my number is 734-578-3412. I think they have a good process in place, and they'll eventually get to you if they did tear up some grass in the area. But if you just want to call, go ahead and give me a call and I'll transmit the message. And then just an update to council. I had the opportunity to watch the library study session just before our council meeting today, and they did approve a different plan from what's in our budget. In our budget under library, it shows $350,000 coming to our general fund, and it's going to be about $135,000 less what they approved. So we're going to have to find ways to work around that, and I look forward to talking to everybody Saturday at the budget session. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Green.
Thank you. I'd like to start by informing the community that the Senior Alliance is having an emergency food distribution for senior citizens this coming Thursday, April the 23rd, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at their location in Wayne, not far from us, located at 5454 Vinoy Road in Wayne, Michigan. Again, the Senior Alliance, this is for senior citizens only. And it is a free food distribution. Also, as a reminder, would like to remind the community in light of everything else that's going on around us, this is also a census year for all of us. And this is the year that we get counted. If you're not familiar with the census, this is a 10-year survey that's done every 10 years by the federal government, and it determines how much funding each city gets, and it is based on our population. So it is very important for the stability of our city that we get all of our residents counted. You should have already received an application in the mail, but in the event that you did not receive a census application, you do not have to wait for an application to come in the mail. You can complete your census over the telephone. You can complete it very easily. It takes less than 10 minutes. I did mine online. The website is that's my2020census.gov. So you can do that. Again, it's very quick and easy. Right now, the city of Westland, as of today, we are projecting a census completion rate of 61.5%. So we're doing even better than we were last week, but we still have lots of work to do. So please visit my2020census.gov if you have not completed your census. There is an organization by the name of, they go by the acronym SAMHSA. It is a government organization, and it is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration. This is a national organization that is offering, or they have always, but they're definitely, increasing the advertisement for free crisis mental health assistance or counseling. It's a helpline. It is free. It is for anyone who is experiencing issues with, again, what's going on in society. If you happen to have any substance abuse issues, or you just need someone to talk to, you can visit their website of that's S like Sam, A like Apple, M like Matthew, H like Harry, S like Sam, A like Apple.gov. Or you can give them a call 24 hours a day, 365 days a week at area code 800-985-5990. It is totally confidential. And again, once again, 100% free. As Councilman Hertzberg said, we have another budget study session coming up on this coming Saturday, which is when we're going to start the process of peeling back the layers for the upcoming budget year for the 20 and 21 year budget. We invite you to join us. It will be an electronic Zoom meeting, so please visit the city website or any of our websites. I'll have it posted on my Facebook page, Councilwoman Tasha Green on Facebook. You can click on the Zoom link and join us. We'd love to get your input, questions, what the city is proposing for the next year. And finally, if I can be of any assistance to anyone in the city, or if you just need someone to talk to as your councilwoman, you can reach me at area code 734-828-7010. Please stay safe. I am praying for you all, and we will get through this together. Thank you.
Help if I unmute my phone. Councilman Godbout.
Thanks. I'd like to start tonight by congratulating Mo and his wife on the birth of their daughter, Waverly Rose. Mo, just remember that sleep is overrated. So you'll find that out very shortly. I'd also like to extend my sympathies to the family and friends of all those residents that have lost their battle with the COVID-19 virus. Many of us have been touched by friends or relatives that have succumbed to that disease. And, so I just want to make sure that they know that they're in our thoughts and prayers. And then once again, I'd like to thank our police, fire, DPS, the city employees who do their job day in and day out, even through this difficult time. They're putting their themselves out there to take care of, make sure that the residents are taken care of, and it's important service to our residents. And with that, please stay safe, stay home. That's all I have. Thanks.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Good evening. Excuse me. Thank you. I'd like to also acknowledge all of the families that are suffering their losses, and I am devastated for you, and I hope that you find peace through this. I want to especially thank our police and fire who have gone above and beyond, because not only are they responding to our emergency calls, but they're providing a sense of quasi-normalcy by leading the charge for celebrations. And unfortunately, sometimes they're leading us for processionals. And I would just like to acknowledge that, I had the opportunity today to participate in one of them. And we had one of our sergeants and one of our officers provide the police escort for that. And it meant everything to that family. So, serve and protect is what they vow to do, and they certainly are in many different capacities. So thank you very much. There is another resource if you're home and you need to find an outlet. Our state has a site at Headspace, so it's HEADSPACE.com//MI. And so that's stay home, stay mindful. It has some exercises, some things to kind of take your mind off of maybe what's devastating currently. And with that being said, you know, a lot of people are being put into situations right now that aren't safe. We have a lot of people who don't normally have to spend 24 hours, much less 5 weeks, with somebody who isn't good for their mental health or their physical health. So if you do know somebody that you're acquainted with who may be in that situation, please reach out to them. Please be a lifeline for them, because there is a large uptick in domestic violence all over the nation due to these stay-at-home orders. And so since those people can't necessarily reach out on their own, it's important that those of us who know those individuals reach out to them. With that, I wish you peace. I know we'll get through this, and I've just been very happy about how our community has come together to take care of one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Mike McDermott.
Well, good evening and thank you, everybody. I too want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. Our first responders here in Westland, our police, our fire, and also our DPW workers who have to work around the clock with a pandemic or otherwise. Their job doesn't stop. And so the sacrifices that they've been making throughout this trying time are immense. So thank you to our Westland police. Thank you to our firefighters. Thank you to our DPW staff and everybody here in the city that is working so hard to keep our city up and operating and keep city services going that are essential for the residents in our community and for the businesses in our community. I also want to thank the frontline workers still. Again, you know, we go to the grocery stores and the shelves are stocked. The food is getting delivered, the supplies are getting delivered to the stores so that we can get those essential items for ourselves and our families as well. So thank you to our grocery store workers, our delivery drivers, our restaurant workers, and also to our frontline workers at the hospitals as well, doctors, nurses, and the hospital staff. Thank you for fighting this horrible disease on the front lines each and every day, putting yourselves at risk and making sure that we all stay healthy and safe. I just want to say that I think, like many in the community, we're all disappointed to hear the news that in the cover of darkness, Beaumont made the choice to try and close Annapolis Hospital. I think we all as a community need to put pressure on Beaumont as an organization to make sure that they keep Annapolis Hospital open, especially at a time like this when we're going through a nationwide pandemic and a medical emergency. This is not the time for a for-profit entity to be shuttering and closing a hospital, especially one that so many in our community and surrounding communities rely on. I'd like to remind people too that the Wayne Westland Community Schools has the Family Resource Center, and they are looking for supplies and donations. Mostly they are looking for toiletry items. So toilet paper, shampoo, conditioner, razors, toothpaste, toothbrushes, deodorants. And those toiletry items can be dropped off over at certain locations here. And if you want to find out where those locations are, it's John Glenn High School, Adams Upper Elementary, and Franklin Middle School, and they are by appointment only. So if you do have some toiletry items that you'd like to donate to the Wayne Westland Community Schools Family Resource Center, the best way to arrange that drop-off is to email FRC, that's Frank Roger Charlie, at www.csd.net. Again, FRC at www.csd.net. They're looking for toiletries to support students and families here who are going through some hardship during the COVID-19 outbreak. And then I would like to also remind everybody, as my colleagues have, that we have a very important, very informative budget study session coming up this Saturday from 10 a.m. and it's going to 2 p.m. or later, depending on how much time that we are going to need. But I hope that everybody joins in on the budget study session for this Saturday. And then I will close by thanking the mayor for bringing up Earth Day. It's extremely important, even though we are still going through, you know, a nationwide pandemic. Taking care of our Earth, being good stewards of it, fighting man-made climate change, that doesn't stop whether we're going through this or not. So thank you to the mayor for highlighting that. And I look forward to being a part of the virtual Earth Day this year that the city of Westland is participating. With that, I certainly hope that everybody is staying home, staying safe, and staying hopeful as well. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, Councilman. We'll move on to Council President Pro Tem Michael Londo.
Thank you, President Hart. Start off tonight, I want to start off by thanking Chief Stratner and Chief Judge Ruzick. Both of you guys are doing a fantastic job with your departments and with everything going on. We appreciate all the intel, or not intel, information that you're providing the council on a pretty frequent basis. I read all the emails, so I definitely do not want you guys to stop that. Or Mayor Wild, please keep sending it as I go through everything and read it all in detail. So thank you. Also, congratulations to Mo Ayub and his wife on their beautiful baby. There was a picture on a City of Westland's Facebook page. So if you want to see the beautiful girl, go ahead and go on our Facebook page. Also, I know a few Councilman Herzberg mentioned this, but I'm also very excited to see the repairs on Hicks Road. I just drove it today and it's in horrible shape. So it's nice to see that grant money being put to good use. I was also very excited to see some more grant dollars coming for the police department for technology upgrades as well under the JAG grant. That was also on the consent calendar. And then I was really, really excited about this one, the GIS and 3D maps that the city's going to use. As our IT director mentioned, many of our departments are going to utilize that tool, and I think it's going to be a great asset to our community. So thank you, Council, for your support on those items. And I know the mayor mentioned this as well. It's very important that we keep continuing to support our local businesses. You know, a lot of you guys know my job, and I get a lot of intel and a lot of data on what's going on with a lot of these businesses. And it's unfortunately that, you know, a lot of these businesses aren't going to make it. So we've got to do our best to continue to support them as well, as much as you can. A lot of these restaurants are offering delivery, you know, your Grubhubs of the world, your Uber Eats and all those are waiving fees. You just, you know, tip the driver. So, and they're being really cautious. They'll leave it on your porch. You can obviously do electronic payments. So let's do everything we can to continue to support these local businesses that we have. I'm doing my best to cook at home as much as possible, but at least on Tuesdays, I'm doing a takeout Tuesday thing in support of our restaurants. I'm trying to support them. I know the Westland Chamber of Commerce has done a fantastic job of getting the word out about these businesses. So if you go to their Facebook page or their website, Westland Chamber of Commerce, they have a list of all the restaurants and local businesses that are open and active and how you can support them. Even just by buying a gift card would be a huge help to these local businesses. Chief Stratner mentioned it, but thank you to the mayor, Deputy Mayor Reddy, and Chief Stratner and the guys from Fire Station number 2 for coming out for 100-year birthday for a lady named Elsa, who lives in our community. A friend of mine reached out and asked if we could do it. Reached out to the fire chief, and he reached out to the police chief. Unfortunately, the police weren't able to make it due to a high call volume at that time. It was kind of a rainy day, so I'm assuming there were some accidents, but greatly appreciate Engine 2 coming out and going by. Really made this lady's day, so appreciate that. And then Councilwoman Rakowski brought up the funeral procession today. Again, thank you to the mayor and our police chief for providing the police escort for the procession today. There's about 50 cars that left from the VFW Bova Hall on Hicks Road and went by the resident's house. We did 2 laps around the block to go by, and you know, the tears in her eyes were in the family's eyes. They really, really appreciated the support of the community and having the police officers go by. There is a video on Facebook if anybody wants to take a look. It's on the VFW Bova Auxiliary page on Facebook. So go on there and check that out. I also shared it on my Facebook page as well. And then I'll just touch on the Beaumont Wayne closing as well. Thank you, Mr. Councilman McDermott, for bringing that up. You know, it's a tragedy. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that Beaumont has done this. I know a lot of the nurses over there, they were reaching out to me, asking for support, whether it be, you know, food for them or places to stay. I was trying to work with some hotels with the Mayor Wild and Mayor Racy and Wayne to try to get some hotel beds for these nurses that are on the front lines, and then they just out of the blue just closed the hospital. So, you know, people might just think, you know, they don't realize the effects of it. And how does it affect Westland? Well, it affects our response times. Now that's one less hospital that our EMS drivers can take a patient to, not just a COVID patient, but you know, somebody that has a heart attack or anything. And now these other hospitals are busier because of that. And, you know, like Chief Stratner's mentioned before, the time that they have to spend at these hospitals now is much longer now too, due to the different protocols and the fact that the EMS employees have to sanitize the vehicles and whatnot. So, you know, a lot of people don't know that Beaumont Wayne serves as the first hospital of service for the communities of Wayne, Westland, Romulus, Inkster, Belleville, Sumter, Huron, and also the Detroit Metropolitan Airport. So again, it's amazing that in the midst of this, you know, worldwide pandemic, that Beaumont Health System is removing 185 beds for critically ill COVID patients. So I would encourage my colleagues to, you know, keep the pressure on, whether it be social media, send a letter. I know I'm sending a letter to them this week, I believe, to express my displeasure with them. And then lastly, just something I wanted to mention, possibly to the mayor, or I don't know if this would come up during budget sessions, but again, we're all praising our police and fire for everything they're doing, and they're doing a fantastic job out there, putting their lives on the line every day. We obviously have had some positive cases, and I saw some other communities have done something, whether it be hazard pay or some type of heroes pay. I know some of the senators and congressional leaders are trying to get that, but I don't know if that's something we can do locally. Every bit helps, and it'll be a good gesture on our part to take care of our police and fires during this pandemic. So something I'd like to hear feedback from the administration and my colleagues. I'll be in full support of that. So that's it, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Londo. Begin tonight by thanking Councilman Rakowski for leading us in our Pledge of Allegiance. It's always appreciated. I'd like to thank you first, all my colleagues as well. Thank you for bringing all of this wonderful information out. Again, you guys have a wealth of information, researching ways to be active and involved and bring these things over to the community. So really proud of everybody contributing in their own way and trying to maintain a high level of positivity and effectiveness and reaching out to all of our residents in the special ways that you do. It speaks volumes for this council working together. So I'm really proud of that. Craig, again, I'll continue to thank you every single time from our IT department who hides behind that little Do It logo right there. He's doing it all. So we appreciate it. Thank you for making these work as well as they are. The colleagues mentioned the study sessions for the budget. Yes, those are going on. We have one this weekend and we have one scheduled for the following weekend. If more needed or more times needed, we can add some more. We'll let you know that right now, the next council meeting, which is May 4th, as well as the final budget session that's scheduled May 2nd, are location to be determined. So if right now, if the stay-at-home order gets lifted and we get relaxed a little bit, those might eventually go back right to City Hall or in person. If the stay-at-home order gets extended, we'll continue to use this platform. So we're kind of keeping our ear to the ground, watching what things happen. I would look forward to working in person with all of my colleagues, as well as I'm sure they would as well. But we have to make sure we're doing what's appropriate. So those are location TBD. So just kind of keep your ear out, and then we'll put out this information as soon as we know what's going on. We'll be able to put that out. I was concerned about the Annapolis Hospital. It does seem very shocking to me. A number of you have really kind of taken a big stance on that, and I appreciate that. I will join you in your question and fact finding, trying to figure out what's going on. It does seem a bit odd, especially during this time. I have questions and concerns myself, as many of you do. So hopefully we'll get some more information. Aside from the fact that I was born at that hospital, it's important to our community. So I'll end with this: mental health. Too bad our favorite person's not here to talk about mental health, but it's very important. And this is actually a situation that mental health really comes to the top. This is I liken this often to sometimes a military deployment. We're in a situation right now. We're confined. We can only have limited movement, and there's people around us that are falling ill, and some of us we're losing. That starts to play a toll on your mental psyche. And we're trained in the military how to deal with these things. Definitely the support of others, communicating with others, and also keeping yourself active. It's very important to maintain a positive mental attitude and remain objective on everything that you encounter. Don't get too wrapped up on some of the extreme things you see on Facebook or social media one way or the other. Those can actually cause more social and mental damage than what's already going on out there. So keep a level head and keep yourself active. You have this new free time, and I talked about this before. Find a way to fill it. Now, I know what I'm going to be doing. We went for a walk this morning, went for a long walk, and I saw an awful lot of trash along the side of the road. So I would encourage my council colleagues, if any of you have time, to do the same thing. We're going back out tomorrow with a trash bag and gloves, and we're picking up some trash. And sadly, I'll say it, there's a lot of gloves we counted on the side of the road. That was really frustrating. So we're going to go out. We're going to wear our own gloves. And then we're got one of those long wands. We're going to pick up the other trash and pick some of that up, because I think our friends at the court right now aren't helping us with that. So we'll go ahead and pick up and at least take care of our area. So if any of my colleagues have some free time, I ask you to do the same thing. Go out, keep yourself active, and anybody at home, anything you can do to keep yourself active and anything you can do to keep yourself positive, we'll get on the other side of this deployment and we'll be all better for it at the long run when we find ourselves on the other side. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you.
Forgot to thank Andrea.